Hey guys, Justin here. No quick notes for this one, pretty straightforward, but as always, please leave a like on the video if this helps you because that helps me out the most. And then subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Alright, here we go. I hit 3 and 4 so good there. I got rotation at 3 and 4 even though I was on the very bottom. I was like on the slip angle of the rears somehow.
Wait, did you like slide a little bit in turn 1 and 2?
No, I try not to. Whenever I do, it's slower.
I feel like I got just a little bit of, I was just a little bit loose going in, and somehow that was still my fastest lap. Oh my lord, 559. Okay.
Alright, let's take a look at that. So we're going to start as we always do on the run-up. So the run-up is not that important because you're going to be on the brakes right after the start-finish line. But what's important is having a very consistent braking point for the hot lap. So I like to do this run-up just so that I get a good starting point for my consistent braking point. Alright, so basically I'm going to be doing the same thing that we always talk about here on short tracks. Go up by the wall, turn down off the wall, and full throttle. And you can get a very good straight exit. And with that straight exit, you carry a lot of momentum. And this is kind of arbitrary. I gained probably a 100th or two. So now our braking point here is going to be about where the what I like to call a beat after the start finish line. So if you think about it in terms of music, in terms of a song, you pass the finish line, you wait for a beat, and then you brake. So here I'm doing a very consistent 30% or maybe about 25% drag. And what I'm doing with this is I am aiming for this white line right here to start out with. So that's the first part of the corner is to drag the brake and aim for the white line. So that's part 1. And now part 2 is going to be when you see this part of the turtles right here. So the turtles right here are very odd because they aren't perfectly curved all the way that you would expect. They kind of have a bend, a tiny straight, and then another bend. So if you can kind of see, there's a bend here, and then it goes straight here, but then there's another bend. So I like to call this the fake apex and then the real apex. So you want to turn down the hill right as close to the turtles as possible, sometime between the fake apex and the real apex. So you see I'm still not all the way at the bottom as I'm taking the first apex, but I cut down for the second apex. And this is done naturally if you carry the right amount of speed. So you see here I drag the brake at a very low amount until my car starts turning down the hill on its own. I help it a tiny bit with the wheel, but it would turn down the hill on its own here. And then I kind of go straight past the first apex, and that's when I pick up the throttle. I don't pick up the throttle until I reach the first apex. I only pick it up to about a half though, but even then, even when you're on the throttle on a half here, your car will turn back down the hill again towards the turtles. And then I hold that throttle until we get full throttle when the wheel is straight. That's very big on these short tracks, is to keep your throttle at partial until your wheel is completely straight. This is going to prevent wheel spin, and that will heat up your rears and just ruin a lot of things. So remember, no full throttle until your steering wheel is completely straight, or more or less. So turns 3 and 4, it's going to be a very different turn. Turns 1 and 2 act very different to 3 and 4. While 1 and 2 are kind of that long, lazy corner in comparison, this turn I'm doing a lot more brake. I start out at about a 50 to 60% stab right here, and then I start backing it down to a drag. And I'm, instead of aiming for the dashed white line, I'm aiming for the dirt patch right here. And now you can get on that and not be too bad, but I kind of just like to get close to it out of principle. There's another line that's pretty fast where your car is kind of just cutting, or it's going right through the middle here. That's kind of a safer line, but you have the opportunity to get a lot more looser on corner exit. This line kind of keeps you tight, so it's very good for a race line, but we'll see an alternate race line later in the race video. So here I stay as low as possible. Then once I get to the white line, I throttle up. Once the dirt turns into the fat white line, I start throttling all the way up. And then open up the wheel. The wheel dictates when I can go full throttle, and my wheel is mostly straight. I know it seems funny that this is mostly straight, but my car is pointed where it wants to go, so I can be full throttle here. And then you drive that all the way to the finish. So that should help you with the line to get a good qualifying lap from Myrtle Beach. And now let's go right to the race. All right, so the race just ended here. It was a pretty good race. It's really hard to pass. We ended up finishing 4th here after starting 5th. And it was basically just once you got your spot off the start, you kind of just settled into it. So we'll take a look at that here. So this is going to be a really weird start because pace car goes in super early, so he can start anywhere in this turn here. So the 3rd place gets a pretty bad start. If 3rd place got a good start here, it would have been a really easy pass for 4th, but I still kind of made it work by keeping it really low and getting a good run off the corner there really helped, and I was able to outbrake him into 3. And that second lane isn't going to do a ton usually on the start. So we were able to settle into 4th. And honestly, it was kind of a boring race after this. I don't really know what much to say. There was a pass for the lead, but that was a very good pass, actually. I wish I could find the lap. So it's pretty early, actually. So the 4 car here, Truck Series rookie Lane Riggs, actually, he has a very good line, which I didn't quite try, but I can see why it works, especially to get position, where he enters middle instead of low, and then he cuts way down onto the white line and below. And so you see he took advantage of the 12 car Andrew here. He got a little loose, he got a little too low, scrape the inside wall. How often do you see that? And because of his launch there, he was able to get position on him to where he was able to dive bomb the corner a little bit and get side by side. And really, getting side by side is just part of the equation at this point in the run, because once the tires wear a little bit, the outside is going to be pretty competent in holding their position. But he was using up all of his tires here, honestly, and just really battling. And then once you kind of equalize speed on the backstretch, and then you have 3/4 of a length on him, then you can kind of just dive 3 here and clear usually. I don't know if he does it here, actually. Well, Andrew got a really good turn, so it wasn't over just yet. But here into 1 is a lot easier of a dive bomb than 3 is, and that allowed him to take the lead. And you can freight train a little bit if you stay close enough. So the 12 here freight trained him, and then unluckily for me, I could not get to be part of that freight train. And so we kind of just rode around. We stayed in touch with the leaders because the 12 was probably a little faster than the 4. And because of that, they kind of got side by side a couple of times. But once you get later in the run, it's just really hard to get past if you're holding the outside line. So let's see if we can find an example here. So here he looks under, but it's like that's never going to work. And you can see he has a little more speed than him. He's able to roll the corners really well. And even when the 4 makes a mistake, see, the 4 right now is the slowest out of the top 6 or so. We're all kind of catching up to him, but there's kind of just nowhere to go. So really the moral of the story is, even if you feel like your car isn't the best, and there's a little bump, but he did a really good job tanking that bump there. That could have been the end for both of them, and I kind of wish it was. That would be kind of nice for me to get those positions, but he did a really good job holding on to his car, and you just really can't do much. So the other thing I want to talk about is managing tire heat. So the line that I was running, I ended on a 90-91. There were some people that ended on 92-92, but really the wear is not that important at the end of the day when it's all that close. It's all about the tire heat. So what you want to make sure of when you're driving is never to slide the rear tires ever, because they might take maybe 1% off your rears, and it's not the end of the world percentage wise, but when you put that heat in your rear tires that was not there previously, it takes time for that heat to go away and go back to what you're used to it being. And when your tires are hot, you get a lot looser, your braking suddenly becomes a lot more unstable, you get looser off the corners, looser middle, you're just a lot harder. And the problem with that is it compounds, right? If you're getting loose, that probably means you're going to be sliding your tires even more. So the moral of the story is, if you slide your tires once, you have to make sure to take the next 2 or 3 laps incredibly easy, so that you don't risk sliding them again and just getting them hotter and hotter and hotter. So you see I get a run here. back to passing. He can just send it super far in, and my exit it doesn't work if he does that. So really defending high becomes really easy, especially in 1 and 2. The only time you can make a pass is if you get even with them on the backstretch enough to where you can dive bomb them into 1. And you see the 12 tries that here. But, oh boy. He doesn't have position on him to do this. See how much ground he can make up with this dive bomb. He can get about half a length doing it. So if you're not half a length in front of the leader already going into the corner, you can't make that slide job work. But how are you going to get there in the first place? That's a great question. So you either got to be a lot faster than them, or you got to maybe use the bumper if you really want to. But outside passes can work too. I think Jordan Highland did that a little bit further back in the field for one of his passes. He got positioned on the outside and was able to drive around pretty easily. But if you are wary to that and defend high when somebody's going after you, it's going to be a very easy defense. But anyways, those are my big takeaways from the race. Defending high once you get a little bit into the run. How to pass, I don't know. I really don't. And then lastly but not least, keeping tires cool enough during the race. Not compounding your slides with other slides and making them the surface of the sun on wheels. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.